If someone who looks exactly like your mother calls you toward the mangroves at dusk, don't go. Look at her feet first. On the Pacific coast of Colombia and Ecuador, there's a spirit that can wear the face of anyone you trust. The only thing she can't disguise is one foot, shaped nothing like a human foot at all. And by the time you notice it, she's usually already leading you somewhere you won't want to leave. Picture the Pacific coast of Chaco, Colombia and Esmeraldas, Ecuador. Dense mangrove forests, humid jungle pressing right up against Afro-descendant fishing villages that have lived alongside this coastline for centuries. The Tunda is described here as a monstrous woman, vampire-like in some tellings, impossibly dark-skinned in others, described as darker than a moonless, starless night. She's a shapeshifter. She can appear as a beautiful stranger, and this is the detail that makes her genuinely disturbing, as someone you already know and love. Your mother, your grandmother, an aunt, a cousin. She borrows the faces of the people you'd follow anywhere without question. But there's always one detail she can't fully hide. One of her feet is a completely normal human foot. The other is shaped like a wooden grinding paddle, or sometimes scribed as a peg leg. Nothing like a human foot at all. Her targets tend to be specific: disobedient children, unfaithful men, people who wander from the community, especially toward the water or the deep mangrove, especially at night. In some tellings, she specifically appears to men who go out to work on Holy Thursday, when tradition says no one should be laboring at all. Once she has you following her, she leads you into the mangrove to a hidden clearing with a small fire and offers you food. What looks like fish, roasted, shrimp, ripe plantain. It isn't. It's beetles, worms, poisonous roots. But under her influence, you eat it without noticing the difference. This is called being entundado. Tunda ed. Your body weakens. Your breathing slows. Within days, sometimes weeks, you lose your will entirely. Here's what's unusual about La Tunda compared to most predatory legends. This culture didn't just develop a warning, it developed a documented, structured rescue procedure. If someone goes missing and is suspected to be entundado, the community doesn't just search randomly, they form an actual commission. Godparents, a priest, close friends, extended family. There's also a specific, communally understood method of protection and reversal. Dogs are said to frighten La Tunda. A single bark can make her vanish entirely, which is why search parties traditionally bring dogs with them into the mangrove. And if someone entundado is found, bringing them back requires a real ceremony. Drums, specifically the bombo and kununo, traditional Pacific Coast instruments, along with particular plants and prayers performed by the community together. It's called desentundamiento, untundaing. Notice what that actually is. It's not exorcism performed by one specialist in isolation. It's a coordinated, multi-role community response to someone in crisis. There are several competing origin stories for La Tunda, and none of them agree, which is usually a sign a legend has been reshaped many times by many communities, carrying real different kinds of pain. Most commonly told version says she was once a beautiful African woman brought to Americas on a slave ship. She couldn't bear normal children, so she goes into the forest instead, taking young men, children to raise as her own. There's a second, harder reading that circulates specifically within Afro-descendant communities telling this story about themselves. That La Tunda is the reincarnation of a woman who was herself a victim of violence and abuse. In this version, she isn't simply a monster punishing wanderers. She's grief and violation, given supernatural form, still moving through the same landscape where it happened to her. Researchers studying this legend also point to something deeper running underneath both of those readings. La Tunda appears to blend the West African water deity, Mami Wata, with the European folk motif of the devouring witch, filtered through a distinctly Creole fear of the untamed jungle itself. It's not one culture's monster, it's three traditions, colliding on the same coastline, fused into a single figure. Pioneering Afro-Colombian anthropologist Nina S. de Friedemann was among the first scholars to seriously document this blending, treating Pacific Coast folklore not as superstition to dismiss, but as a real archive of a community's history. And then there's a third layer, the one anthropologists have spent the most time documenting. Some researchers connect La Tunda directly to Cimarronaji, enslaved people who escaped Spanish colonial captivity and built free, hidden communities deep in the jungle, including something specifically called the Zambo Kingdom of Esmeraldas. In this reading, the legend wasn't really meant to terrify children into obedience for its own sake. It was meant to keep people, especially children who might talk, might wander, safely contained near home, away from the hidden trails and clearings where escaped communities were surviving in freedom. The word entundado itself in that reading isn't just about being trapped. Some scholars connect it to the idea of transformation, a coded reference to the entire political project of escape and reinvention that Cimarron communities were living out in secret. Monster story, in other words, that may have functioned as camouflage for one of the largest sustained acts of self-liberation in the history of the Americas. La Tunda never fully left. She just changed jobs. Pacific Coast still holds a full annual festival built around her, held every September in Tumaco, in the Nariño Department of Colombia, a real present-day cultural event. She's become a distinctive symbol of Afro-Colombian Pacific tourism and identity, representative of an entire region's culture, rather than just a scary story parents tell at bedtime. Anthropologists studying Pacific Coast communities have documented something remarkable. Children in these villages develop unusually precise, detailed knowledge of exactly which parts of the mangrove are dangerous, and much of that geographic knowledge is transmitted specifically through La Tunda stories, fear functioning as a real working map. There's also a small folk detail that survives purely because it's oddly beautiful. When rain falls while the sun is still out, people along the Pacific Coast still sometimes say, La Tunda está pariendo. La Tunda is giving birth. 400-year-old legend still narrating the weather. So if you're ever on the Pacific Coast of Colombia or Ecuador and someone who looks exactly like family calls you toward the mangrove as the light starts to fade, look down first. Which legend from your country scared, or maybe protected, you the most as a kid? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want more legends like this, real folklore, real history, no fake, bump scares, subscribe. New legend every week.